Can everyone hear me okay in the room? Okay, great, thanks. My name is Lisa Holmes. I'm the director of the Tompkins County Office for the Aging here in Ithaca. And I just want to spend a few minutes telling you about our office and offices for the aging in general, because I'm aware that not everyone necessarily lives in Tompkins County but works here. But offices for the aging are set up across the country and in every county in New York State with a similar mission, and that is to assist older adults, and that is defined by the Older Americans Act as people 60 and over, to remain at home and independent, and to live independently in their homes and communities with quality of life and dignity. And that is done by assuring that there is a network of home and community-based services to assist people in order to delay or prevent altogether the need for institutional-based care. So in Tompkins County at the Office for the Aging here, we are a department of county government. We receive funds from federal, state, and local sources, all with this mission in mind, to provide a network of home and community-based services to assist older adults and family caregivers. And so I have the pleasure of working with everyone here at this table locally to provide a network of these services, either in partnership or with subcontract, et cetera, by subcontractors, et cetera. So one of the most important roles of a local office for the aging is just to be that hub of information about what's available in the community. Whether or not we provide it ourselves, we would know what is available and can direct people towards services that are available. And we do that in a way, the information that we provide is objective and unbiased. So we are not trying to steer people in any one direction or another, where our role is to try to provide the best information that we can to empower and enable people to make the best decisions about their own care or the care for their family members. So I brought with me today some paper copies of some resource guides that we offer to the community, and for those who are watching online as well, these are all available at the Office for the Aging's website in digital format. But for instance, this is a housing guide that goes through all of the different options available for housing in Tompkins County, from independent apartments to assisted living to nursing home options. Long-term support services goes through a lot of different programs and services available, home health services, meal services, transportation, etc., and resources for caregivers. So information for family members who are caring for someone at home or in the community. Again, all of these are available online, but they're presented in such a way that you can get good objective information and kind of compare apples to apples when you're making choices about yourselves or family members. And this would be true in any of our neighboring counties as well. The local offices for the aging in our neighboring counties would serve this similar role. And not only true in New York State, but all around the country. As a result of the Older Americans Act of 1965, it set up these umbrella offices for the aging everywhere in the country. So if you're concerned about an aging loved one in another part of the country, you can find an office for the aging and be able to connect with someone there about the services that are available. Some other things that we provide through our office would be, again, the ability to meet individually with family members or individuals themselves to go through what we call options counseling, to talk about all of the different options that might be available in the community and payment options. One thing that's true about aging in America is there is not one overarching system of long-term care in this country. It's more of a patchwork of systems of funding streams and payer sources and programs, and our staff is very well educated and equipped to help people navigate the options that are available, what is available to be funded, what's not, and the local options. We have staff that are trained as health insurance counselors to help navigate with decisions around Medicare and the various options related to Medicare Advantage, Advantage plans, and Part D drug plans, etc. We have a large section of our office that is geared toward caregivers and supporting family caregivers as they do the important work of caring for elders in their lives. So we have a lending library, we have a quarterly newsletter, information about support groups and trainings, and a 6-week powerful tools for caregivers training that is offered in the spring and fall. And there are lots of other things that we offer. I have brochures here. It's also, the information's available on the web. We, as I said, work in partnership with many local organizations and provide sources of state and federal funding to these organizations to help with their programming as well. So I would say that the Office for the Aging is a great first step and resource for people to understand the scope of what's available and to provide help with navigating some of the decision making that might come along with elder care or making decisions for oneself. So I think I'll leave it at there, and there's much more I could say, but that's a good starting point.
Tammy. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Tammy Dunn, and I am the program director at Lifelong. Thank you, Diane, for having us be a part of this presentation. I am with Lifelong, and we are a very vibrant community center downtown Ithaca, and we offer programming and services for adults age 50 and above. We have everybody from those who are just recently retired or looking to retire to those who are in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s involved in the programming that we have. We offer an umbrella of programs, and so I think that to start with, we have learning opportunities. We are a resource for those in the community that even though you've retired, you still want to keep learning and exploring new ideas, topics. So we have learning opportunities each semester. We offer classes ranging from arts and films to history to politics, gardening, you name it. We strive to have folks active, engaged, still learning. It doesn't matter how old you are, you still want to have that interaction with others. And so we have the learning programs. We also have health and wellness options. Part of our mission is actually to enhance the second half of your life. And so we have health programs, everything from Tai Chi to yoga to low impact aerobics to even square dancing on Fridays. And we offer those programs not only downtown Ithaca, but we also have them in the outskirts of Tompkins County. We are a creative arts program. We have a creative arts program as well. We have a lot of folks who are very artistic and enjoy the opportunity to share their skills and their talents with others. So we have the space to bring you in and still be engaged with others, and just because you're retiring, we still have things to keep you busy. We are not only we have the exercise and the tax preparation is the next thing. I'm stumbling over my words. We offer a tax program for folks, and that's a free program. That is available to individuals who are age 60 and above, or have disabilities, or there's income restrictions. So if you have a low income, we have that program available to folks. I don't have the statistics for this past year, but I know that in the previous year we had done some over 800 tax refunds and stuff for folks. So it's really a great resource to the community. In addition to like the Office of the Aging, we also do Medicare counseling. So we do see a number of folks who come in who are looking to retire and they have questions regarding their Medicare and insurance. And so we have counselors available to meet with you to also go over that and look at the different options. Special events, we do a bunch of different events throughout the year just to kind of keep folks engaged and meet new friends. It's really just it's a great organization, a lot of fun. We do a lot of fun programs and just really enjoy what we offer. As you get older and you're into the retiring stage, you think, what am I gonna do with my time? We do have a volunteer program as well. So we can't do what we do without the volunteers. So we have that available to folks. Backing up just a little bit in terms of our status and how do we function. We are actually a nonprofit organization, and we are funded through the Office of the Aging, through also the city. We're also a United Way organization. So our people and the funders and members are all very important to us. I think that's a really quick synopsis of everything that we offer, but I welcome questions after. So, yeah, here.
Good afternoon. My name is Elena Flash, and it is my great honor to serve as the first executive director for Love Living at Home, the village that is here in Tompkins County. So I'll explain a little bit about what a village is and what Love Living at Home is here in Tompkins County. And then I'll talk a little bit about the topic of I hate to ask, putting a little spin on it. So Love Living at Home, we are brand new. We have only been open for a year and a half. But the way we are organized and the way we operate follows a national model. It's called the Village Movement. It started about 16 years ago, and today there are about 400 organizations like Love Living at Home around the country. So for those of you who might be here thinking about family members who live elsewhere, please feel free to contact me and I can help you find out if there's a village in that community. Each of these villages is unique. Each is independent. They are all not-for-profit, and they are entirely driven by the people in the local community who want to have this mutually supportive network of seniors helping seniors. So what we do here locally is we offer opportunities for older people to stay connected to one another and to the bigger community. We work with all these folks here, while continuing to live independently in their own homes or apartments. We call it living independently together. So as a member of Love Living at Home or any village anywhere in the country, you have access to social activities, volunteer services, and connections to the resources in the community. So some of what we do parallels and partners with the other organizations here locally. And like Lifelong, we have lots of opportunities for you to volunteer. For our social activities, we do things like gatherings in members' homes, small groups of folks who just get together, tea in the garden, drinks on the deck, whatever. They organize it, they do it. We have interest groups. We have a coloring interest group, a needlecraft interest group. We have the OGOs, the old guys who go out. We go to restaurants and plays and concerts. And usually the program committee, people who are organizing these, try to get a discounted rate for the meal or the concert. And then we have a program that we call Behind the Scenes. One person said, you know, we really ought to learn more about what's available in Tompkins County. So he organizes tours of places that you might not think about going to, like the Piggery, like Grassroots Festival. They had a tour of the Grassroots Festival before it opened, and the organizers kind of gave some information about how to even think about organizing a musical festival. They've been to Cornell Dairy Store. Of course, they had ice cream afterwards. Finger Lakes Reuse, and we have a whole list of places that, you know, are on the docket to get in and learn more about what happens behind the scenes. And my favorite part of our social connections is that we offer a ride share for anyone who wants to go to one of these programs. Maybe they'll drive at night, maybe they just don't want to go alone. So they call our office and we find out who else is going and we connect them so that folks who might not otherwise get out and do stuff. So that leads me into our volunteer services. We provide transportation anywhere in Tompkins County, door to door, volunteer transportation for any purpose, not just medical. We provide home maintenance services by a volunteer. I'm going to talk a lot more about this at one of the other Aging Well and Community series. That's a teaser to encourage you to come to other parts of the series. And we have what we call personal well-being, staying connected, little things that volunteers can do for someone at home, running errands, little pet care, helping to organize a cabinet, clean out a CD cabinet, friendly visiting, little things. And I'm really talking about little things, but they make such a big difference in the life of someone who's living alone. And then, like with the Office for the Aging, we are also gathering information about opportunities and resources in the community for paid providers or other not-for-profits that can help support you. So we too can be a call us for additional information and connection to resources. And if we don't know the answer, we call Lisa. So I think that's a little enough to give you a flavor of what our organization is and does. And I want to talk about the theme of I hate to ask, but I do want to put a spin on it and tell you what we hear over and over again as we go around the county talking to folks who are thinking about staying home. And what I hear is, I don't need it yet. So I hear I have lots of friends. My neighbors help me out. I still drive. My family takes care of things at my house for me. But what we've also learned in our year and a half, and what experts in aging tell us, is that aging does bring change. And we have to be able to accept that and acknowledge it and plan for it. And sometimes these changes are unexpected. Friends and neighbors move, or maybe they're aging and can't help you quite as much. An injury or a surgery might impact your ability to drive. And it may only be for a short period of time, but hopefully there's a way for you to layer in some help for that emergency situation of needing to get places and you can't. Family relationships can become strained with caregiving responsibilities. And for all of us, whether we like to admit it or not, our vision is changing. And we cannot see as well as at night. And being reluctant to go out at night might have an impact on your social life. It is inevitable that our social circles as we age are going to get smaller. And it is critically important to have a good aging span through your second half of life, that you build new relationships and continue to build social connections throughout your life. So organizations like Love Living at Home and Lifelong are great opportunities for you to address that need to increase your social connections. The main difference between our two organizations, and we do a lot of things together and try to look for more opportunities to together support aging and community, is that we have those volunteer services that come into your home. And I think that's why we hear the I don't need it yet words. So I'm going to tell you a story. An independent woman, Cornell professor, retired, lives in an apartment. She certainly doesn't need home maintenance. She travels, she drives, she has friends around the world, lots of friends in the building where she lives. She doesn't need it yet. But she joined the organization because she thinks it's a great idea and she wants to help this new idea have a footing here in Tompkins County. About a month after she joined, she fell. She needed surgery to repair the hip. So when she's getting ready to leave Cuba Medical Center's rehab, she calls and she says, well, I didn't think I needed anything, but. So we got together with her neighbor, the social worker, the discharge planner, and our volunteers helped to organize a smooth transition plan for her to go back home. The volunteer picked up the shower stool and the toilet commode from the Finger Lakes Independent Center, where, by the way, you can borrow adaptive equipment when you have that kind of short-term need. The volunteers set them up in the bathroom, so this woman who lives alone would go home. It would be all ready for her. The neighbor got us the key to the storage unit in the basement, so we could take out some of the, I don't want to say clutter, but yes, clutter in the apartment, so that we could move furniture and roll rugs, so that then she could navigate better with her walker and her wheelchair. And then a few weeks later, when she needs to go for follow-up doctor's appointments, we have our volunteer driver who can take her. She's back on her feet. She hasn't called us in months. I guess she doesn't need us anymore. But I think maybe there's a little bit of peace of mind for her, a little mini insurance policy, so that if she does need something, she's part of this mutually supportive community of volunteers and members who are together living independently. So just one more thought to share. I think that our current society and the way we've kind of all been trained is that we do a really good job. Your HR departments, your financial planners, your bankers, they're all doing a really good job helping you think about the money that you're going to need in your later years. And your doctors are doing a great job talking to you about what to do to prolong your life. So how many people take that little aspirin every day, right? But we do not do a good job. We don't do anything to talk to people and encourage conversation around the other things that you need to have a really meaningful and positive aging experience. Transportation, social connections, having something meaningful to contribute, using skills you built over your lifetime, or maybe just sharing your story with somebody. These sound like really small things, but they are incredibly important. In fact, I've heard the director of the State Office for the Aging present and say that those other social determinants actually account for close to 90% of your health and well-being. Volunteer services and social connections of organizations like Love Living at Home, Lifelong, these are the things that replenish your shrinking social services circles and provide supportive services when you do need it. And we believe in our village movement that by being part of a mutually supportive community of people who want to help one another stay home, you won't be afraid to ask. So maybe you do need it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ann Dolan. I'm the clinical specialist in geriatric mental health with Family and Children's of Ithaca. Can everybody hear me? Okay. It's okay. Family and Children's is the oldest counseling agency in the county. They've been started as a children's home almost 130 years ago, and we've evolved. We have 35 therapists, 35 or 37 therapists, and we take care of, children as young as 2 and their families to my oldest client, I think, is 96. So as I said, I'm the specialist in geriatric mental health. And so I'll describe my program and then kind of a little bit of what we do and how you can begin to listen to yourselves or to a loved one. So our program, the Family and Children's has always had senior services, but they evolved the program to include geriatric mental health about 4 or 5 years ago. And so what we do now is we offer therapy and counseling for older adults. Now there isn't an age limit on that. It really kind of depends on the number of complex circumstances that present, those services are billed to Medicare and supplemental insurances, just like a doctor or another specialist. We also offer, and this is a very important program, Family and Children's has always offered this, it's just caregiver counseling. And caregiver counseling is an individual free 1 hour a month with a specialist to talk about whatever your caregiving issues are. And currently, you probably see about 20 different caregivers, and it's once a month generally, but it can be catch as catch can if somebody's doing well and they don't need to come in for a few months. But if somebody, well, I'll get to that later, but generally it's about once a month. And sometimes people just need a place. They're caring for a spouse who's become ill. They're caring for a parent, or they have these problems they just do not know how to solve, and their families don't know how to solve them either. These are usually very complex problems with a lot of emotion, feeling, and logistical dilemmas involved. And so, a caregiver will come in. A number of spouses whose loved one has had a stroke or whose Parkinson's is advancing. I actually have seen several family members of one individual from time to time, but it's a time when you can just have a good cry if that's necessary, or we problem solve, or sometimes we talk about more of the complex issues that are happening in the family. But it's a free service, it's grant funded, and it's really wonderful. And the third aspect of the program is a caregiver support group that I facilitate once a month, the third Tuesday of every month from 6:30 to 8. And all of them, I have rack cards that outline our services on them. And so, to kind of take some of what Elena said so well about not knowing how to reach out for help, not knowing, I don't need it. We really have a problem with older adults with overwhelm and anxiety and overwhelm, and feeling like there is too much being piled on. Even as we retire, there are parents to take care of, or spouses to take care of, or children that are having dilemmas, and sometimes our own depression and anxiety get the best of us, and yet we don't know how to reach out for help. I have lots of different therapeutic phrases, but one of them is our best thing is our worst thing. And in America, we pride ourselves on fierce independence, and that fierce independence gets in our way when, as Elena said, we really need one another. And so learning how to ask for help, it's hard enough when you just need your neighbor to come help you with the plumbing. But when you're in over your head with issues such as physical loss, let's say something has happened and you've developed a disorder, let's say you've developed Parkinson's disease or something like that. Let's say something happens, something often does, and you don't know how to handle that, and your family doesn't know how to handle that, or something is happening with your children, or most often there are multiple things that kind of pile up. There's a physical thing, there are emotional things, there are social things, there are all kinds of things that pile up. And if you're trying to navigate them all by yourself, it's a very, very lonely place to be. And so counseling doesn't have to be long and protracted. And people get this idea of analysis, like you're going to be laying on my couch and, talking about your great-great-grandfather's, dinner, whatever. But it's not like that. We can be very solution focused and come in with a problem. That's one of the many reasons I love working with older adults, is that older adults tend to come in with very specific parameters of the things they need to talk about. That you've lived long enough so that you've kind of shaken out a lot of extraneous stuff, and so you're very solution focused, and so we can often make pretty quick work of it. And with the A-Team here, we have wonderful resources in this community, and sometimes that's what we need to focus on as well. It's like what's available for you besides coming in and talking about it and exchanging ideas about your feelings. Who else in the community can you reach out to. Now, that said, I've gifted you with, maybe that'd be a gift, you know, there are better gifts. But I brought in some of the paper handouts. This covers, just want to kind of walk you through them. The State of Mental Health and Aging in America is just I thought it was from the CDC. It's just a really nice overview of the state of mental health in older adults. And one of the things that you'll read, if you read it, is that most older adults are not depressed. Great. But when you are, it's very, very important. Depression and anxiety are, you know, the twins. It's very important to learn how to reach out for help. So the next one I have is I gifted you with a couple of our tools just so you can kind of see the kinds of things we talk about. The patient health questionnaire is called the PHQ-9. In this paper, you'll see this referred to as the PHQ-8. This is about 8 years old. So they've revamped it since then. So this, you know, this is a little screening tool that we use to just kind of get a handle on whether, you know, where someone is in their depression, because you get so used to putting on a good face and putting one foot in front of the other that often, I mean, in the first couple of sessions, even a therapist can't tell how depressed you are. But often people will be a little bit more informative on a quick little thing like this, and how you score yourself is on the back. So I just thought that might be a good thing for you to have. Now, the other thing that we deal with a lot is anxiety. Now, this says, and we have what's called the GAD-7, and it's a little quick seven question screen. And now it's for generalized anxiety disorder, which is the mother lode of anxiety disorders. Actually, PTSD is, but generalized anxiety disorder is right up there. However, I didn't put this on there, but if you feel like you are an anxious person, if you're a stressed and worried person, you can take this little thing. And if you score a 5, that means you have mild anxiety. If you score a 10, that means you have moderate anxiety. If you score a 15, that means your anxiety is pretty highfalutin. And so you might want to consider seeing somebody if you score a 10 or above. Okay, so that's, I also have available, speaking of PTSD, I have a little screen for that. If anybody wants to contact me, I do a lot of work with people with very high anxiety and many with PTSD from sources that you wouldn't think. And I also included, finally, this lovely little New York Times article that I shamelessly stole off the internet, is why is asking for help so difficult? And it is difficult. It is very difficult. And a lot of people, and just as a kind of a final thought, people often avoid counseling because they imagine this little phenomenon that people imagine that the therapist is going to reflect back to them how they feel about themselves, which is usually bad. People are feeling bad about themselves, they're feeling depressed, they're feeling anxious, they don't know how to solve their problems, and so they imagine in this kind of dark thinking that the therapist is just going to agree with them and, you know, or say all the awful things that they're thinking in their heads. And nothing could be further from the truth. This is like someone who is on your side just for you, and I consider it an honor to help people who present themselves in my office, and I consider us on a journey together, walking through the dark wood. And so I would ask you to consider, if you know anybody, or if you yourselves are feeling somewhat depressed and anxious, to look at it more that way and consider asking for help. Our intake department is phenomenal. I've never seen anything like it. It's like I feel like I'm in the Emerald City. They do a fabulous job. Whenever somebody calls in, they ask them all the right questions. So I have a good deal of information even before you walk into my office. So all that said, I look forward to questions, and I'll turn it over to Jessica. And I won't turn this off.
I won't either. Looks like lipstick.
I know.
Yeah. I won't apply it either. Yeah. I'm Jessica Gosen. I'm the executive Director of FoodNet Meals on Wheels, and it is a pleasure to be here with you today, and it is wonderful to be with this panel. I love that you called us the A-Team. I sometimes feel like we're on tour. We're like, we always are at the same events. But what's really great about this panel is you can call any of our offices, and any of us could be a point of entry. Really, any of us could probably get you in the right direction or the phone number where you want to be. And that is really unique and a really great resource that we have in Tompkins County. I really feel that our aging services provide a continuum of care. You're not being bounced from one place to the other. All of our folks work really hard to give you the right information and the organization starting place that will be most supportive. So before I get into what our organization does and why we exist and what we see, I want to ask the room, and I guess the people out there remotely, how many people think they're really good at asking for help? Right. Yeah. You do? That's good. That's good. We should be friends. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. You know, and I'm going to assume that people out there online aren't like screaming through the universe that they're really good at asking for help. In general, it's really difficult. Delegation is difficult. We think about, you know, working in an office. It's sometimes hard to even just delegate to who we're supposed to delegate to. You know, in general, when people are thinking about asking for help, they're weighing the risks and the benefits to that. You know, what are some of those risks? Well, rejection. Maybe you'll be told you don't qualify for services and that'll feel embarrassing. Could be just feeling really private, not wanting to open up what's going on, giving up control, admitting that some help might be needed, or that it's time for help. Willingness that I don't need help yet, but admitting that maybe now's the time. Feeling like you failed, that comes up. We hear our caregivers that we're supporting say that a lot, that, you know, they should be able to do this and they don't understand, you know, why things are so overwhelming now that they can't. Expenses, you know, people have the perception that additional services are going to be really costly or think their insurance won't cover things. We get a lot of people that call us and the first thing they say is, I probably don't qualify for your services. We say, well, let's talk a little bit more before we say that. So that's really common. And time, you know, it takes time and energy to navigate and pick up the phone and start thinking about where to start, whether it's getting services established for yourself or a loved one. So to talk a little bit about what FoodNet Meals on Wheels is, there's sort of an expression about Meals on Wheels. If you know one Meals on Wheels, you know one. And that's because every Meals on Wheels is funded a little bit differently. They operate a little differently. So I'll speak mainly about Tompkins County because that's the one that I know about. But there are about 5,000 Meals on Wheels programs out there throughout the country, especially so if you're thinking about establishing services for somebody or a loved one that is across the country or somewhere else, just know that every service design is set up a little differently. For us, FoodNet Meals on Wheels receives a tremendous amount of government funding. So we get federal, state, local funds that are all appropriated through our County Office for the Aging, so we are a subcontract of County Office for the Aging. We are the county's nutrition program. Our programming does offer full-scale nutrition services. Not every Meals on Wheels program has that extensive of a component of that. And so to get into what we do, here locally, we provide about 700 daily meals to more than 400 older adults throughout the county. We have 9 meal delivery routes, and each month we drive about 9,000 miles. So lots of food going out. We served 168,000 meals last year. So in terms of services, our big program, which people know the most about when I say Meals on Wheels, is the home delivery meal program. That makes up about 75% of our programming. And that is designed for somebody that is needing to be at home for whatever reason. It could be short term. It could be that you've had a surgery, you're recuperating from the flu. It could be a number of things that are causing limitations from getting out and being able to cook and prepare meals yourself. We also serve a lot of couples. So we have maybe a caregiver providing care for their partner, and we're able to provide the meal for both people, as long as the person that is recuperating or is having trouble getting out, it's to benefit their care. So there is some flexibility there. We do get some government funding, so a lot of what we do is completely supported in grant funds. So we can offer this service to people that are 60 and above that meet the health health requirements for completely voluntary contribution. So we certainly have people that say, well, I can afford the service, so I'm going to pay for it. And we have others that say I can't, and we have the grant funding to support them, and they're able to tell us what they think they can afford. We also have a congregate meal program, which is our social dining program. And that's a really neat program. That is designed for people that are still out and about, but want to have access to a nutritious meal and would like to eat together. And so we offer that 5 days a week at Titus Towers. We have a site at Center Village Court in Groton. And then we have our 2 newest sites, which are really exciting. We have one at Lifelong. See, we're always together. We have one at Lifelong on Tuesdays, which is really fun because people are able to go to classes and then end their class with a nice nutritious meal, continue the conversations of the people they've been going to class with. And then we also have a congregate dining site at the YMCA on Thursdays. And that's the same sort of idea. So on Thursdays at the YMCA, it's Senior Dollar Day. So if you're 60 and older, you can use the whole entire facility for $1, and you don't have to be a member. So you can go work out, then come over to our dining room and have a nice, nutritious meal. All of our meals are certified, prepared, and planned for somebody who is 60 and above. We have a registered dietitian who is full-time that makes sure that all of the meals are meeting the right amount of nutrients and caloric intake for somebody who is 60 and older. We do all of our cooking at our kitchen every day, fresh cooking. All of our meals are low salt. All of our meals are moderate fat. All of our meals will accommodate a diabetic diet. We can also make some alterations to fit our clients' needs to the best degree possible. So lots of things. I think the dietitian service is the hidden gem. That's one thing that when I tell people what we do, they'll say, I didn't know that you had a dietitian. So the dietitian also provides nutrition counseling. So we'll get people on service, and she's available if there's a medication change that's affecting diet. If somebody wants to lose weight or gain weight, she's the person that's really able to provide that support. I also call her my honorary social worker because she also does a lot of referral and resource connection. We are often a point of entry service, meaning when people call us and we get out there to do our eligibility and home visit, we find that people really haven't set anything else up yet. And things we hear are, well, I don't qualify for anything else, or I didn't know that I need anything, or I'm doing just fine. We'll start with just the food, and that's fine. We find that people are welcoming to us. The food is sort of non-threatening. And once we establish that trust and, our dietitian and our drivers will start to really get to know the people that we're serving, and we can often make referrals or suggestions about what else might be available. In terms of the need and why it is that we exist, is that hunger and malnutrition among older adults is really a very real issue, and it's complex. I think when we think about hunger, we just assume that there's economic hardship attached to it or lack of access because of poverty. And really, for an older adult, it's about so much more. For our folks, we serve people certainly well below the poverty line. We also serve people in the highest income brackets. And we find that many of the people that we're seeing, even in the highest income bracket, have some sort of diagnosis related to malnutrition. And there's a number of reasons why. And we start to think about the social determinants of health. We think about loss, maybe newly eating alone, not having the appetite, maybe medications kind of, making you not as hungry and you're not thinking about food as much. Lack of interest in eating. It could be, environmental. It's just getting more difficult to get to the store, not having the energy to do that or interest to do that. So there's a number of things we see, and it builds up. We get a lot of calls from families right around the holidays where loved ones have come to visit and they call us and they say, Mom has nothing in her refrigerator. She's having tea and toast. And that's it. So I'm worried about that. Now get them on service. So we look at that and we try to, that's where our dietitian is really helpful with the assessment that she's doing. She can give a lot of guidance, especially for people that don't have much appetite, and how to make the best of their meal and how to supplement with our meal. And so some of the statistics that are out there is that 50% of older adults that are living out in the community have a diagnosis that's related to malnutrition. And then 33% of older adults admitted to the hospital have a diagnosis related to malnutrition. So it's a really it's a prominent issue and it exists. And again, it's not just because, well, I don't have the money to go buy food. And that's the thing that I always like to drive home is that you can have all the money in the world and still not be eating what your body needs. There's a difference between malnutrition and food insecurity. What else do I want to tell you? We talk a lot about the More Than a Meal model, which is something that we've adopted from the Meals on Wheels America, which is our national affiliate. We're a member organization to them. And that means that for our home delivery program, each meal that we deliver, our drivers are trained. We use paid drivers that are staying consistent to the routes. So they're getting to know the folks that they're delivering to. And they're the eyes and ears. They're providing a very quick, friendly visit, but they're also doing a quick safety scan and trying to see if there's anything out of the norm that they maybe need to get some help for that person with. Our goal really is to help the people that we serve maintain their independence to the degree possible. We don't have anybody that we serve that says, boy, I'm really looking forward to going to a nursing home or assisted living. And so we recognize that. And so our hope is really through us and then maybe pulling together some other services we can provide a stable situation at home for as long as possible. Also providing a lot of support to family caregivers. We have a caregiver that's taking on that role has a million things that they have to do in a day. And we tell people, let us take care of the food. Cross it off the list. That's one thing that we can do that you just don't have to think about. You can spend your respite time not going to the grocery store unless that's what you really enjoy doing. If that's respite to you. It wouldn't be respite to me. But if that's respite to you, then fine, let's try to find you respite support. But if it's not and food is stressful, then let us help. We're there. We also see ourselves as preventative. That safety check is really critical. A lot of folks that we serve are living alone. And for the most part do okay living alone, but there are situations that come up. Our drivers have prevented falls. Our drivers have found a fall and where people have not been able to get to the phone, or the personal emergency response system is hanging over the lampshade, And so we have circumstances like that, and our drivers are there regularly enough that we could really prevent that, especially when people are in their most fragile state. Think about coming home from a hospital and being discharged to a place where you're alone. And it might work most of the time, but to know that somebody's going to stop by with food, but also somebody's going to knock on the door. And if we get there and we're expecting you to be there and we knock on the door and no one answers, then we're going to work really hard to figure out what's going on. We won't leave until we have figured out where people are. Sometimes people are just in the bathroom. That's great. But other times the worst has happened and we have to get help there. Our drivers are trained to handle that and to stay with our clients if there is a crisis. We try really hard to prevent the crisis. So if we get there and we notice, because our drivers are paid and trained and are there every weekday, they can tell if something just seems off about someone. Say, wait, have you taken your medication today? You know, or there's not heat in this house today and it's 30 degrees out. You know, what's going on? So those are some things that we're always keeping our eyes and ears open for out there. So in terms of a few myths about our services, I already told you we hear a lot about, you know, this is really just for people that can't afford to get food. That's not the case. We do have a grant-funded, supported program, but we also, if people are able and want to contribute to the service and pay privately, we have clients that do that. We get a lot of people that will call us and say, I can afford the service, but I don't want to take it away from somebody else who needs it. We hear that a lot. We always say, if you're contributing to the service, you're really scholarshiping others. So we can leverage the funding, the grant funding that we do get, that really provides support to the whole entire program. We hear a lot about like, oh, it's government funded, so that means we're going to have to apply, and it's going to be like this long process. We do all the paperwork, so there's not anything on our client's end besides a couple pieces of paper that they have to sign. But we do have to do some screening. But we do all the submission of paperwork and getting it funded. And so we're never sending people with a packet of applications to apply for our programming. We do that all. People also say, well, I don't need the service 7 days a week, so I'll wait until I need it that many times a week. It's customizable. So if somebody wanted to use our service to supplement something else they already have, that's completely fine. We have some that will say, I just need it 3 times a week, 2 times a week. Somebody else brings me food. Great. So we can do that. We have folks that are on for really short periods of time. We have folks that will call us before their surgery and say, I'm going in next Tuesday, and then I'm going home the next day, and I need meals there that Thursday. And we can make that happen. So that's, those are some of the flexibility of their program that I don't think people always know about what we can do. So I hope your takeaways from this and what you're getting is that if you have a loved one or for yourself and you're recuperating from an illness or you have surgery or there's something coming up, let us be part of your discharge plan. Give us a call. We'll help you make the arrangements. If you have a loved one or yourself is interested in dining socially and having fun conversations and getting to know people or volunteering, our social dining program is a great program that offers that. And know that malnutrition exists regardless of what your income is. And I think, again, when you look at our panel, you have a really comprehensive array of services here that are all available. And collectively, we really do provide a pretty comprehensive continuum of care. That's all I have. We lost our moderator. Yeah. Now we sing.
Thank you. I want to say each one of you, I'm sorry if it's all this, each one of you presented aspects of your programs that are so comprehensive, and I really never realized that before. I'm the emissary of the neighborhood, it go. And I'm very impressed with Meals on Wheels and Family and Children's Services. I had no idea that this geriatric mental health program existed. And love living at home. I was under the impression that it was really for people who wanted to stay in their home and various kinds of help things. I had no idea that it was like cooperative living, which is a great idea, which is very so I just really appreciated everything. You know, lifelong I've known about for a long time, but it's one thing to just read through the catalog. This was really helpful and much more comprehensive. I have one question. Could you highlight again how people can best get in contact with you and where to get started? So I know that your websites were shared with everyone earlier, but how do you get started? Where are you located?
So the Office for the Aging is located in downtown Ithaca, 214 West Martin Luther King or State Street, right on the corner of State and Albany Street. And our phone number is 274-5482. You can find us very easily on the web if you just Google Tompkins County Office for the Aging. And yeah, a phone call, or you can contact us via email if you're comfortable with that too. That's located on our website. And walk-in is also fine.
Lifelong is located downtown Ithaca. We're at 119 West 4th Street. We're behind the old library building. Our phone number is 273-1511. You can also get us online at tclifelong.org.
We're virtual. We do have a little office that is incubating in a downtown law firm, but our phone number is 319-0162, and we are out in the community and in your homes and wherever people want to be together. But I also want to stress that you could call any of us, and any of us will tell you how to get in touch with the other one.
Well said. Family and Children's is located just down the street from the Office for the Aging at 127 West State Street, or Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. A lot of people think we're still on, where did it used to be located? Yeah. We're not there anymore. We live. Did I say that? We are in the same building, Social Security. So it's just a little walk from the corner of Geneva onto State. And our phone number is 273-7494. And I encourage people who want services not to call me directly, but to call our intake department. Like I said, we're terrific. And what they'll do is ask the questions that tease out what service is best for you.
We are located by the mall. We're at 2422 North Triphumer Road. Our number is 266-9553. And our website is foodnet.org. And in order to get started with our services, there's a number of options, but I'd recommend calling. You'll get a wonderful voice. Her name is Luann Morgan. She usually does all of our intake, and she is wonderful and will tell you everything you need to know. If phone calls aren't your thing, we also have a platform in our website that you can start the referral online, and then somebody from our office will call you back within a business day to get things going. You can always leave us a voicemail if it's past a business hour. If you decide I'm going to go for it at 11 p.m., we'll call you the next morning, just get things going. And there really is not a long waiting period to start services. That's something I want to emphasize too. If the person needs it the next day, we can usually start making it work. So, especially if it's coming from hospital. Yeah.
You are welcome to exit now, or you're welcome to stay. All the presenters are here until 2 o'clock, so if there's specific questions you have, or if you want some additional information about any one of the services, feel free to stay. Any last questions? That's good. I'm curious about people feel depression when you're raised people self-sufficient and not look but you know, when you get older, there's certain problems that present with it, and you don't have a solution.
Right,
You can't go away. And nobody has that. How do you deal with it?
Well, that's a very good question, and it really illustrates a lot of what I do all day, and that's work with people who are presenting with exactly the situation that I can take care of myself, and yet there's usually loss after loss after loss after loss. There's sometimes physical losses. There are family losses. Your friends are dying. I had several friends die. I'm only 62. And so it does accumulate. And so there's a process. There are a couple of things you can do. Medication sometimes helps, but I know I'm very conservative about recommending medication. But there's a reason that it's called the talking cure, and that's something about sitting down and really just getting all of it out and talking with someone. And I look at it like, you ever have a chain, like a jewelry chain that gets knotted up, just the more you pull it, the worse it gets. And the way to unknot that jewelry knot, that chain knot, is to massage it very, very, very gently, and it very slowly yields. And that's kind of how I see therapy, is that we talk about the different aspects. And sometimes I emphasize things like the greater the stress, the more basic the self-care. That under great stress, you have to really, really hone in on the most basic forms of self-care, which would be, am I eating enough? Am I sleeping? Am I getting exercise? Am I socializing? All of those things are just so basic, and we tend to just sit in our homes by ourselves and not, and I'll eat peanut butter again or something like that. But it's very important to learn how, and so talking can actually help that too. Well, I don't feel like eating, so what do I do? Or I don't, my friends are gone, so what do I do? And that's where, I know that all of these ladies and their agencies are available. And it's not a matter of just do this, just do that. Helping someone with depression involves a lot of validating what they're experiencing right then, because sometimes we tell ourselves that I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be able to do this. I should be over this by now. And that should really gets us into a lot of trouble. So we do spend a lot of time on really validating experience and also outlining options. I really help people look at options. We get stuck and we don't think we have options. And I'll say, well, we have options. They're not pretty, but we have options. We go over what your options are. We go over, what your needs are. And I feel very strongly that our needs are speaking to us in the form of sadness, anger, and especially things like resentment. And when we are feeling those emotions, our souls, our needs are really speaking to us, and that's what I do a lot all day, every day. is really talk about those things so that someone can learn what will be best for them. And with many people, many of my older adults, they'll be feeling better, and then there'll be another loss or another drop. And we walk through that. Some of it is acceptance of learning, how do I accept something that seems unacceptable. And that's what the talking is all about. I wish I had a magic wand, but it's broken. And even the medication isn't always a magic wand, or medication doesn't always help, but it often helps. And that's something that I can talk with people about, and with a release of information, speak with their doctor about. And we also, I forgot to mention that we have part-time psychiatry at Family and Children, so that if a psychiatrist is needed. We have one we have several on board. Does that help? Am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something. That's absolutely true, and that's the kind of thing that I think talking about it can really help, because it's easy to say let go and let God, but the letting go is so hard, and people say, how do I let go? I don't know how to let go. And what does letting go look like? What does let God look like to you? And I think that it's, I wish I had an easy answer, but I know that it helps. Yes.
Not easy, but I have found that by looking at it as an invitation to investigate, that there is something else that is uncovered that you did not remember or that you did not realize. And even if it didn't, your attitude of something can alter it so that you can see the light alongside it rather than the middle of the dark.
That's a very good. That's a very good point. There's so often meanings to be attached to the losses. What are those? Exploring what those meanings are, and learning how to look at them, listen to ourselves, look at them differently is very important. Thank you.
We have an online question. Do you have any suggestions on how to start the conversation with an aging loved one about their
Plan for like
just as they get older?
Sure. Well, I would say that staff at the Office for the Aging are available to consult with family members about that topic. We have books in a lending library about starting those conversations that can be difficult. I think what we always try to do is to try to follow the lead of the individual and what the individual is wanting. We often find adults, children, family members who are ready to go and wanting to make plans for the person that they're concerned about, and that's all well and good, and they have concerns, but what we try to do is try to work with family caregivers to, and it sounds like this is where this person's question is coming from, how to start that conversation to get at what this individual is actually wanting, or if putting a plan into place. Sometimes just having the options and the information available for someone to know what their choices is can help to put the control and the power back with the individual so that they are able to choose and to understand what is available. And we can certainly equip people with what those options are. So I would, say that we are open and available to engage with individuals themselves, with family members, to explore what actually is available and to empower people with the information to make good choices for their particular situations. Others takes on that?
I was just going to say that Lifelong often offers programs to at least provide information in terms of whether it be the financial side of planning. So we have estate planning programs from semester to semester. There's different topics. We had talking about healthcare proxy or rules and that information. So we're a resource in terms of having workshops. So we share the information.
I just want to offer not so much as to how to have the conversation, but something that we say when we are talking with families about what's the plan. And it is a concept that was shared with me many years ago called the dignity of risk. If one chooses to stay at home as long as possible, there is risk. And the whole family has to be willing to embrace that risk, to say that yes, there is some risk for our loved one to stay in his home, but with that risk comes the opportunity for them to also have some really high points in their life. They are making their choice, they are living in their home. And if they want to sit in the window without a shirt on, so be it. If they're not bothering anybody, right? I mean, so there is some risk. And that's okay, and everyone has to be able to embrace it.
I think that I think starting the conversation is really very difficult, and that I'm assuming this is an adult child maybe talking with a parent, and so I'm a pretty firm believer in just starting out, like being honest about how you're feeling. Like, I'm kind of nervous about talking to you about this, and but I've been really wondering what you're thinking about, if one of you gets sick, sometimes you can put it on yourself. Like, I've been worried, not like you're not planning, or you're not doing this, you're not doing that. You put it back on yourself. Like, I've been really kind of worried about this. And I think that putting it back on yourself and really being honest, but gentle about your concerns, and also, like Elena said, that recognizing that there are going to be options here, decisions here that an adult child may not agree with, and so that's a work I do with caregivers all the time. It's okay. What's the worst case scenario here? Talk about what's the worst case scenario, and if we can work around that, then we can work back toward where the middle problem is. So we do a lot of that kind of work in the steering.
I feel like I'm reaching kind of into my old caregiver counseling days, but I also back when I used to do that more, but even with our clients, we get family members that call on their behalf, and they're just so frightened, about what they're seeing, and they're just sort of like throwing services at their loved ones. And I can tell you that almost never works. We will get a whole influx of new clients around Christmas, like a week after Christmas, and then I can promise you when those loved ones go back home, we get a whole bunch of discharges from our services saying, I tried it, I'm not doing it. That's not, because they weren't ready for that. That's not what they wanted. And I think also you have to kind of look at your family. So what are the dynamics of your family? Do you have a strained relationship where, you and your daughter just always see the opposite? You're probably not going to agree about the caregiving plan. Then it's not going to magically disappear. In fact, the dynamics will probably just intensify because this is stressful. And so maybe you're not the person to have the conversation. You know, maybe it's a friend or somebody else, or even the physician, it could be, or a service provider. And, you know, there are other options. And so I think it's taking a look at, what does your family look like? Is this something that your family can talk about? Because it might not be.
Oh, the question was, this gentleman here's about a group called Visiting Angels that's advertised on the radio, and are they active in Ithaca? And I believe Visiting Angels is a home care provider that has a national presence, but not a presence here in Ithaca. The blue booklet, the long-term care support services, lists all of the home care providers that are active in Ithaca. We have a number of licensed home care providers and one certified home care provider, but Visiting Angels is not among them.
The latest question, are there any exercise therapists?
If people, so if it's prescribed by a physician for, you know, a period of time after rehab, a physical therapist from Visiting Nurse Service would be able to do that. In terms of, there may be options for private pay for that if you were to contact some of the local fitness providers, YMCA, Island Health, etc.
Sometimes it's an occupational therapist who actually does basic well-being, personal exercise regimens.
Yeah, it's a private referral.
Okay. Well, I've lived this. I have to say, I was distance caregiving for my father when he had stage 4 cancer 6 hours away. And I did everything wrong first. So I was like, I've got this. I'm a social worker background. I did caregiver counseling. I know about geriatric care management. I'm going to fix this. I know every resource, every service. So I set up this amazing plan at home. And every day I would get a call from a caregiver saying I was just fired. That's not working. And so eventually I was like, well, okay, I need help. And right. So for me, it was, I need help. It's not going to be me, that is going to do this. And I think in my personal situation, I had to get comfortable that the worst case scenario might happen. And that it wasn't going to be because I didn't do something.
I have, several crash and burns myself. One was, I was working for the Alzheimer's Association many years ago, and my mother developed Alzheimer's. And so, of course I knew, I got this. I didn't have it. And so, there was that, but mostly and with many other things is charging ahead, or is kind of a Dolan quality, and sometimes it works in our favor and sometimes it does not. But more than that, I think that I personally had to learn how to listen to, and I tell my clients this probably 4 times a week, listen to resentment. Resentment is a flashing road sign that you need There has to be a request. There has to be a boundary drawn or a limit set or help. And if you're feeling resentment, it is yourself asking for something. And so how you do that, how you formulate that is individual, but it's always a sign. And I had to learn that one the hard way, just like pretty much everybody else.
Ditto. So personally, I've had a health crisis, so I had to ask for help. But also in the mom story world, I've got Jessica and Ann B. I was a healthcare lawyer working long-term care, and I thought I had it nailed for my mother. No.
Well, I guess I am different on here. Just say that I've been fortunate at this time. However, I do have an aging grandmother who is actually going through dementia, and we see it worsening and worsening. Just in my background in terms of working with seniors, and I see dementia. I have worked in long-term care. So I feel like I have more information than my mom and my aunts and everything, and try to provide feedback and give them information. So I mean, it really hasn't gone over that well. I'm just yeah. So it's kind of a learn as you go, and well, when you're ready to ask for help, I have some information for you.
So I too have lived it from the point of view of a caregiver for both my parents, actually, and most recently, when my dad, before he passed away, went through a period of decline. He came to Ithaca and lived with me while I was director of the Office for the Aging. Thought I had it all figured out, and but I actually found it easy to ask for help on his behalf. I haven't had the opportunity to have to do it on my behalf. And I've utilized a lot on his behalf the great services of FoodNet, of hospicare, respite care, which all enabled me to continue doing my day job, because I found out very quickly that as a caregiver, a family caregiver, all of that can fall by the wayside very quickly, your day job and your social life and so on and so forth. So that enabled me to continue. But what I also learned, a lot of humbling experiences being on the side of being a caregiver or having to ask for help. I had the problem solving piece down very well. I knew about all of the programs and services, but what really helped me were when service providers were able to listen to what I was going through instead of jumping in and offering the solutions. And I took that with me, that listening piece, because that was very important to me. So.
What's the next step of seriousness after this was a temporary accident?
So the question was, what is the next step after home care if a person needs more assistance in, let's say, hopefully temporary or long-term in this case? So there are, and again, there are facilities, long-term care facilities that offer rehabilitation services for people. So if they have, for instance, a joint replacement or need therapy after a fall to rehab and go back home, those facilities are listed in this booklet here. The housing for seniors, but they're the nursing facilities here locally. There is online on Medicare.gov, a nursing home compare website with a star rating system that you can go to and look at to look at the various, quality of care ratings for nursing facilities, including rehab. You can ask questions at those facilities, but there are, we have those options available to us here. Other people want to comment? Nursing facilities. I should also mention, as a part of what the Office for the Aging does in relation to our nursing facilities and any assisted living facilities in Tompkins County, there is an ombudsman program, which is an advocacy program where we have staff and we recruit volunteers who advocate on behalf of residents, either in rehab or long-term. And that program is active here in Tompkins, Chemung, and Schuyler counties.
This sheet has a code for asterisk, and the double asterisk says these programs have districts. Are they generally household income, or do they go by?
So the question was about this yellow pamphlet, which is called You May Qualify, and that is a publication that comes out from the Office for the Aging. The question was, so the pamphlet goes through various ages and programs that people may qualify for at various ages, and then there is an asterisk. Thank you, Diane, you read my mind. There are some programs that are open to people, or the question was, are these household incomes or personal incomes? So for instance, the Medicare savings programs, Social Security income, EPIC, pharmaceutical insurance. I would say that may vary by program, and that to contact, the numbers, or to contact the Office for the Aging, and staff can talk through each individual program. Sorry, that's not more specific than that.
All of this information is really helpful, I think, for us to be able to use for ourselves, for our caregivers, for our family members, and hopefully to others. Share the word. Again, we appreciate all your help and your expertise and all the good work that you do. Let's give them a round of applause.